Hey everyone, welcome to a special quarantine edition of the Adam and Chris Show. I'm St. Adam,
I'm Chris Malice.
and today we have a very special guest with us. You want to introduce yourself?
Cjampail Sanders. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, CJ. We've been wanting to have CJ on the show for a while. I just, I wish it were under happier circumstances, maybe something a little more fun or whatnot. But today we're going to talk about something that's, a hot button issue. We're going to talk about the protests. The Black Lives Matter protests are going around in all the major cities. We have one here in Columbus, and CJ was actually downtown protesting.
What was that like?
Honestly, it was cool. It was nice. It was good to see like a lot of people, like the whole community coming together. But I will say that the police, the people that are supposed to be like protecting us, were antagonizing the protesters. Like they're standing out there with these big guns, like trying to intimidate people. They were making it more uncomfortable than what it was,
Right.
It was a good. I mean, it was a nice experience to see everyone coming together, speaking up for something that they believe in.
Yeah, and that's it's good that everyone came together. I mean, especially what happened with George Floyd was horrible.
Yeah.
Well,
And-
remember who's the poor woman that got shot when she was asleep?
Yeah.
Was it Breonna Taylor or something?
Yeah.
SWAT came in, shot her a bunch of times. That someone's getting sued over that. That you can't
I
fuck
hope
up like
something
that.
happens.
You
She's at
can't
home.
fuck up on that level.
She's at home asleep in her bed. They come to the wrong place and shoot her. Yeah, someone's got to, face justice for that. I mean, that there's like, that's innocent on every level.
Yeah.
That's being innocent.
And then this also follows the protest that we saw to reopen early, which was, armed militia people. Not all of them were, but a bunch of people were. And a lot of those people were disrespectful to the cops. And then you had another situation with the poor guy that got shot by those three fat white pigs. And
Because he was jogging.
Yeah, that dude. Everything about that. I've had very little sleep in the last couple of days. I remember the names. It's wearing on me. But I believe I would not rule out. I think all three of those guys are going to end up going down really fucking hard.
As they should.
Yeah, they should. What they did was cold-blooded fucking murder.
Yeah, it's like what? I can't even exercise in my own neighborhood. Like, it's just crazy. And the thing is, so I used to live downtown. And so they're doing this gentrification now downtown in the downtown area. And it's crazy how I've lived there for over 20 years. Like, I grew up in that area. I went to high school over there, middle school over there. And now that all of these white people are moving over there, it's like they look at me when I'm standing outside on my porch like I'm not supposed to be there. And I've lived in this house for 20 plus years. Like, it's weird. It's
one of the things they said that could have a while ago, Adam, that could have led to the uprising of Trump is a lot of the gentrification that's been going on. A lot of these inner cities getting bought by big corporate dollars and then pushing a lot of other people out. If you go like towards like the Hilltop area, you see quite a bit of that. A lot of, I hate to say it, a lot of the left, the corporate left could be blamed for that type of shit, for selling out to the Barnes and Nobles and all that type of stuff. If you like, because I used to play downtown quite a bit. Bernie's Distillery's gone. There's a restaurant there. Florentine's is gone. There's so many mom and pop places down there that are gone now, that are replaced by some fucking corporation now. It's fucking ridiculous.
Right, but you just said you think that helped play into Trump. How in the holy hell?
Well, a lot of it.
Voting for that
when
guy
it comes to a lot of this
that?
shit, he's pouring fuel on the fire. That's what he knows how. That's the only thing he knows how to do. But remember, numerous times when me and you have talked about how he could have got elected. I think that's one of many elements that factored into that. Oh, you have a lot of other blue collar people in those neighborhoods that saw some of the city go away, and some of them were not lifelong Republican voters. They switched that moment when they started to see that type of shit. But I'll drop that because that's not about that.
Right. Right. So, I find it funny how, armed protesters, when I say armed, I mean assault rifles, can storm the state house, get in cops' faces because they want haircuts, have no consequences whatsoever, and still have the balls to claim their rights are being trampled. Where when you have protesters downtown protesting, just police brutality, and then people are getting tear gas.
There's a lot of, I remember, I think we're going to start to see more in other cities. I guarantee you, if you were to somehow get involved in that piece of shit, Richard Spencer's bubble, I guarantee you there's some of those people that are coordinating, causing chaos at some of these rallies. So they start the cops, they get the cops worked up, then they set them off against protesters, and then those motherfuckers leave. You heard about the Twitter story about the Twitter account that was posing as Antifa that was actually linked to a white nationalist group.
Right, and there was another one claiming to be Black Lives Matters, but they misspelled Black Lives Matters, because I guess when you spell Black Lives, there's 2 S's instead of 1, and they started doing the, we're going to kill the white, and some of these people are believing it because they're like, oh, we're going to kill the white people. I'm like, why is everyone getting upset? This is not a Black Lives Matter Twitter account. If it were, would they misspell their own name?
No.
Right.
Well, I've watched numerous videos of protesters that were stopping people from rioting. Like, hey, quit. This is serious shit here. We don't want to look like assholes. Quit trying to make us look bad. Yeah. And unfortunately, I think a lot of certain news outlets are only going to take the bad look and run with it to appease their viewers. And I think that's fucking sad that we live in that time.
To keep up with the stereotype that they already have going, that these people are dangerous, they're thugs, they're bad people, and just like, no, not everyone, every culture, every race has people are bad. They're bad people, but it's not attributed to your race, like at all.
Yeah, absolutely, it's not. It's attributed to your character.
Right.
And still, my whole thing, I've seen a lot of. I know Candace Owen released a video. I could rip on that fucking fraud all day long, but she released a video bringing up the not so pleasant history of Floyd. Here's the thing: we do not kill people for that are trying to rehabilitate. He's been out for a long time. We don't kill people that are trying to rehabilitate. That's the whole purpose of rehabilitation is to take somebody that has been in a bad situation and change them, make them better. A lot of people tend to forget that. When I was in a criminal justice course, that's one thing that got brought up.
Well, and I want to touch upon that in a second, but CJ, I wanted to ask you, you said, when you were down there, the protesters were being antagonized. How were they being antagonized?
With the military coming up to you, standing there with their guns and stuff, they're laughing. The military and the police and stuff that were standing in the middle of the streets, blocking the streets off or whatever, so you couldn't go certain ways. They're standing here with these guns and they're laughing at you, ha ha ha, I want you to say something. If you say something, if you turn your gun or if you turn your sign or something towards them so that they can read what your sign says, and your sign probably says something like, Black Lives Matter, or, I'm black and I'm proud, something along those lines. And it's they're ready to shoot you. For what? I'm standing here, I'm not doing anything. I'm clearly just walking up the street, shouting out whatever I want to shout, doing what I'm allowed to do. I'm allowed to walk up the street with a sign. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not causing any type of ruckus. I'm not walking in the middle of the street. I'm staying on the sidewalk, and you're acting as if I'm out here getting ready to murder somebody.
That's a whole lot of not good.
Well, right. And I mean, so let me get this straight. Protesters with signs, they're a danger, but protesters with assault rifles, that's fine. You know, nothing to worry about here.
Well, if you remember what Governor DeWine said, some of those protesters with assault rifles had some very unpleasant signs.
Right.
It's so bad that DeWine had to put some of them in check and take their heat.
And I just saw, it was today, I saw a post where it was a group of white people white men that were like imitating the George Floyd thing with their like kneeling down on top of another man.
That's crude as
Yeah,
fuck.
I saw that video too.
And I'm like, what? Like, that's just so weird to me. It's weird that people, like, why are you so angry? I think my biggest question is, like, what are you angry about? What about my skin color, like, makes you that angry that you feel as though I'm worthless? I'm not even human. Like, we bleed the same.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think, you know, they're angry about that. I think this is just what happens when cousins are allowed to marry each other.
Well,
I'm curious because no rational person would ever, you know, sit there and be like, I don't like you based on this, based on how you were born. You know, if I don't like you, it's because you're an asshole or something like that. So, you know, that's not normal to hate someone based on skin color. So these are the abnormal people. Well, why are they abnormal? Well, let's look at where a lot of this shit originated. You know, where a lot of inbreeding originated. Yeah, I'm gonna.
Even that, it's just like, if you're inbreeding, like, I don't know. That's more of a deviant behavior than me being black. Like, what the heck does me being black have to do with anything? Like, I don't get it. I really don't get it.
I think what it is.
I don't get it either. I mean, it's just like I you know what I think, and I wanted to make this. I made this claim earlier this year. I'm like, I think racism is a mental illness because no rational person, no person with any cognitive skills, no quote unquote normal mind would ever look at someone's race or anything like that and be like, that's my reason to hate you. It has to be a mental illness.
I mean, I feel like it's something that's taught. It is taught.
No, it's very taught.
Because I feel like even me being black myself, there are certain, because we've had this conversation, Adam, like there are certain things that I feel are acceptable for white people to do that aren't acceptable for black people to do. And it's only because of that. That's just how I was brought up, how I was raised. And the images that I see, it's not a good look for the black person to do the same things that a white person can do. Like I was telling you, like a white person can come to work in some jeans and a t-shirt and it's completely fine. But if a black man comes to work with some jeans and a t-shirt, he looks like he's coming off the street. Like he's not coming here to do his job. Like it's
right.
It's different.
You're saying it has more of a stigma of being like unprofessional.
Yeah, it has unprofessional stigma that's attached to it, and it's because of what we were taught, the images that we've seen growing up and everything. Like I don't know.
Well, I think we have a lot of cable media that
we have a lot of unlearning that we need to do, honestly.
Right.
Heavily feeds into a lot of this shit. Anytime there's I think like certain news networks, anytime there's a crime with a black person involved in it, they are amping it up about 100 times because they want to get those views. And a lot of Karens of the world see that and goes, oh my God, I'm so scared now.
Yeah.
When the honest truth is nobody wants Karen shit.
Do you remember what Ice-T said about the body count song Cop Killer, why everyone got pissed off?
What was it? Refresh my memory.
Well, he was talking about, he's like, nobody cared when those body count albums were like in the hood. He's like, nobody cared if Marcus down the streets, singing Cop Killer, no one bats an eye. But, you send little Jennifer off to college and she comes home singing Cop Killer and everyone's like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Now,
Do
you know what? Yesterday, for the first time, I heard this, I guess it was like a rock song. I don't know. But, hold on. Derek, what was the name of that song where the guy was talking about, we're going to riot, start a riot? What was that? 3 Days Grace.
Well, they're not even a good band.
I don't know them, but my friend had me listening to it, and I'm like, So this white group is out here saying, start a riot. Like that song was like hyping people up to start this riot. Hold on, to start this riot. And I'm like, whoa, if a black artist was to sing that same song, that song wouldn't be played on nobody's radio and they would probably go to jail.
Well, I'll say this from being a musician for years. That band is that band saying they're going to start a riot, you don't have anything to worry about. They're a band of pussies. Okay, they're not threatening anybody. Okay, they're a bunch.
I mean, it was a good song. What they were talking about was like, you know, you're tired of being oppressed. You're tired of being stepped over. So like, the song, it was a good song. It was just like another black artist would not be able to sing that same song.
Well, and you're right. I mean, like when a band, like one of my favorite bands, Exodus, they did the song Riot Act, which is talking about tearing down society. And I'm like, you know, yeah, but you're right. If it were, you know, a rap artist, you know, like, you know, when you get in the minds of like, you know, these commentators, especially on Fox News, you know, they say like, oh, you know, because, you know, a lot of people like hip hop and they're like, oh no, the hip hop artists are, you know, telling our kids to tear down society. You know, it's like, it's fucking stupid to get worked up. I mean, number one, you know, of all the music out there, I think it's more worth getting worked up about the shitty music. Anything Limp Bizkit put out, get worked up about that. But if it's a song that actually has a good message and like maybe challenges your stance on things, because that's what good music does, it can challenge you. You know, people don't want to be challenged. People just want to be like, you see, they're being dangerous. No, they're not. But maybe you should hear why they're saying that.
Well, I'll break this down as a guy. Like, okay, I played in the Columbus scene for like what, 15 years.
Well, Chris, the bands you listen to are
the shit I listen to makes most rappers go, what the fuck did he just say? What's the name of that band? Prostitute Disfigurement. Wow, that's interesting. But a lot of it is it's record labels that want to have broad appeal to people that don't give a shit about that form of music. And when nu metal became popular, that became the big like beacon saying, hey, abandon all the types of things. Like you can hear I have relatives that listen to country music, and you listen to country music now and it sounds like pop music. You know, there's maybe one acoustic guitar and a fucking computer in there. I mean, if you would have thrown a computer in a country band 10, 15 years ago, Waylon Jennings would have been like, what the fuck are you doing? Get that fucking thing out of here. You know, it comes down to trying to appeal to people who don't give a shit about it. It's record labels trying to maximize huge profits, but it's only short term. All those artists,
right? But Chris, that's a rant for
right now.
That's a rant for another time. I think we're getting a little off topic here, and I know you and I can go on for days about what happened during the nu metal years.
Oh yeah.
But no, I think the original point is like, you know, CJ said, here's a band singing "Let's Start a Riot." Everyone's like, yeah, let's give this radio play. But you know, she's got a point. If you had a black artist saying, you know, especially now, you know, let's start a riot, everyone's gonna, you know, lose their mind.
Yeah. And they're gonna call it looting. That's what they're gonna call it.
Well, you know, and see, here's the thing, where they're like, the protesters are looting. I said, no, protesters are protesting, looters are looting.
Yeah.
You know, don't combine them.
I think
don't combine them, but then also, why are you making the things that these people are like breaking these windows, breaking into these businesses and stuff? I'm not saying that that's okay and you should do that or anything like that, but what the hell? Those things can be replaced, but a person's life can't.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. It's funny you said that. I have a friend who has a business downtown where, you know, the protests were going on, and his business got vandalized. You know, just the windows got smashed. And I'm going to read to you his Facebook post because I think it's really important to hear. Just give me a sec to pull it up here.
Okay.
So he had some pictures. You know, there's FTP spray painted on the window. There's, you know, holes punched in the windows. And he took pictures of this. And he said, so this happened at my place of business downtown. But there is a much bigger issue at stake. This is replaceable, meaning the windows, But innocent Black lives are not replaceable. The system is not right. Despite all damages, we still support and love everyone. Thank you for standing up for what is right, because you're helping other minorities as well. And I think that really hits the message on the head, because everyone's like, think of the poor business owners, think of the poor business owners. Here's a business owner, and he's saying, yeah, it sucked to have our windows broken, but you know what? Keep protesting.
Hey, that can be replaced. I can go buy a new window. I can get that fixed. Like,
and if everyone,
or whatever that was taken, I can get that back. You can't bring back Floyd or George. You can't bring him back.
Yeah.
Well, and if everyone likes what he said, he owns Posh Nails downtown off of High Street. So if anyone hears that and thinks that's good, go to him. Get your nails done. Get your manicure, pedicure, massage. We went there before our engagement pictures. Sarah loved it, but that's the kind of business owner that understands. Yeah, there's more at stake than me being inconvenienced that my stuff got smashed. Yeah, it sucks, but there's a bigger picture here.
Yeah.
As we brought up that a lot of the looters of course, the looters and there's protesters, I believe that a lot of the looters, we have a really crazy college party campus atmosphere. And I think a lot of those fucking bratty brats were like, oh, remember when Ohio State, Michigan goes nuts? What happens when Ohio State plays against Michigan in downtown Columbus?
They flip cars, they start fires.
I think a part of that element showed up. I think there's the element of like some of the white nationalists, and I think made shit just bad.
No, I think you're right, Chris. You got everyone saying, oh, the protesters and just the protesters are. I know I've heard so many dumb things like, okay, well, now that they protested, maybe they should stop because now you're beating a dead horse. I'm like, really? I mean, when you keep having people die from police brutality, it's not.
Yeah, especially
the police are the ones.
Until you see a video, I feel like until they see a video of a white man or white woman being murdered.
You're right.
He's being murdered. He sat on that man's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And then it's broadcast on the internet for everyone to see.
So did you see the video, CJ, of the white guy that got gunned down by the cop that was crawling towards the cop?
Mm-hmm. No, I didn't see that.
Oh, you guys didn't. So again, like I said, with media outlets, so there's a situation where the cops got called on what they believe to be an active shooter. It was some dude with like gas guns or whatever. He's like works in pest control. Well, the cops called him out, and the younger cop that was there had him get down on his knees. The guy was a white guy, crying and like, hey, don't kill me. And eventually the young punk cop, and I stress that specifically for this guy, all right, because he ended up gunning him while he was, restrained and all that type of shit. The guy, the cop in question had the words, if you looked at the guy, you go like, this is a guy that's got issues. He had the words like, you're fucked written on his gun at one point, which I don't get, being a member of the police force and having
why would they even allow him to have that on his gun?
But here's a funny thing, and I've watched Ben Shapiro touched on this subject and was going on,
oh, this can't be good.
Oh, well, yeah, it's not good. Black Lives Matter did discuss this. This was something they brought up at one point. This is when there wasn't a whole bunch of situations going on, so Black Lives Matter hadn't been elevated in the media at that point. I mean, there was nothing really going on. So they were discussing it, but Ben Shapiro starts going, yep, this white guy got killed. Black Lives Matter's not talking about it. Yeah, they were. He just ignored it. You have a lot of people out there that are making money telling the wrong thing to people. The problem with our media is media don't tell their audience what they need to hear. They tell them what they want to hear.
Okay?
Yeah, you can't pander to your audience.
Well, they do.
And I'll tell you what, I'm sure you've seen the talking point where they're like, they show the white woman that got killed by the black cop, and they're like, why isn't everyone talking about this? Where's everyone's outcry about this? What they don't tell you is that cop got arrested, stood trial, and got sentenced to 10 years in prison for killing that woman. But they don't tell you that when they bring up that talking point. And I'm like, really, do you guys care about this woman, or is she just your all lives matter talking point?
Well, they don't care. It's all about narrative. That's it. We live in the era of narrative. People cherry pick situations and go like, look at this situation over here. You know, like I said, the situation about the white guy that got shot. They wanted to say, well, the African American community ignored it. No, nobody ignored it. The people that have been speaking out against police brutality didn't ignore it. Just at the time when it happened, nothing was going on. Nothing really was going on in the news, so the whole situation didn't get elevated. A lot of situations get elevated when they become accumulative. Like right now with the situation with George Floyd, we had, a poor woman get shot in her own fucking bed. You had an innocent man going out for a jog, getting gunned down by racist neighbors, and then the George Floyd situation. I mean, it's all accumulated, That's why everyone's talking about this stuff, is because it's happening more frequently.
And you know what? Colin Kaepernick took a stand on this when he knelt during the national anthem to bring awareness to this. And everyone's like, you're not protesting right. There couldn't have been a more peaceful protest than just taking a knee. And everyone's like, oh, you're not protesting right. You're not protesting right. What is the right way to protest? Because a protest is meant to disrupt the establishment. Yeah. It's meant to make people pay attention to a certain issue.
Well, my whole thing with the whole Colin Kaepernick thing, I'll go back to Trump. I don't think the president should be weighing in on that type of shit. That is the president, effectively. If he tweets something, a company's going to listen because they're afraid of feeling the wrath of the executive branch. I don't give a shit what anyone says, So there was numerous instances with Bush where people said things that he probably didn't like, but he didn't fucking publicly weigh in on them like that because he realized, I'm the president of the United States. If I sit there and I attack this journalist for saying something that I don't like, my word has way more weight because I'm in the White House. Right. And, Trump don't get that. And when he was tweeting that they should all be fired and all that type of stuff, it was trying to put pressure on people, just to appease his base. He should have kept the fuck out of that.
Or Trump is very much aware of how much weight his words hold because he is a man. So he wants to stir something up. Like, he's bored. Like, he's rich and bored and got nothing else to do with his time.
I was under the impression, maybe it was me, that being the president of the United States, you're kind of always fucking busy. I don't know.
No, he's not. He's never busy. He has too much time on his hands, tweeting, like, what the
Do you think does anyone here think his members of his staff at all try to play the game of keep the cell phone away from Trump? Like they might try to hide it, like, he won't get this one, but he just goes out and buys another one. I mean, I totally would. It's like, oh man, I was drinking all night last night. I thought everything was good when he got home, and he got home, and then he started tweeting. Now my job's hell. I'm just going to hide his phone. I bought another one. Oh, shit.
You're not wrong. Now, to go back to a point that was said earlier in this video about kind of a double standard, between white people, how they act, and black people, how they act. Best example I can give. I mean, I have a personal example, but I'm going to give this one first. Mm-hmm. Chris, one of your favorite hot button issues that you love to rant about, Affluenza Boy.
Oh, that boy should have been aborted.
Now, if anyone's not familiar with this kid, Chris, why don't you fill everyone in on this?
So here's my thing. Okay. There's a lot of blue collar white people of honest means, they should have, it should have been something that really pissed them off. Affluenza Boy is the drunk, I think it was 16, 17-year-old piece of shit that was driving his car, rammed it into 4 people, killed them, and his lawyer said that he was too affluent. He didn't understand responsibility, and the judge gave him
He
a fucking
wasn't taught right from wrong,
yeah.
is what they argued, and got him off.
Well, there's a difference between not understanding right from wrong and not giving a shit. The guy that's robbing the bank, he don't give a shit about right from wrong. He's robbing the bank. He knows what these did is wrong. So did this little fucker, because later he broke parole and his mom tried to send him to Mexico so he wouldn't get any trouble because he was drinking. There's a video of him drinking and all that type of shit, which was breaking his probation. But when it happened, I basically posted something like, everyone should be mad about this. It's the thing that should anger white and black. Blue collar white guys should have been so pissed about it. But, you know, their view is like, oh, that sucks, that's mean. And they just bite their lip and go like, well, that sucks.
No, right. If anyone's wondering, his name is Ethan Couch, and you can look it up about everything he did. But yeah, I'm like, here's George Floyd, who, you know, what were the cops after him about? You know, there's conflicting things. Either he forged a check or he had a bad 20.
Well, nothing was even found on him, so it doesn't even matter.
Right. Well, no, and I'm getting to that. But I'm saying, you know, they can't even get the report right about why the cops detained him. But he dies in police custody, kneeling on his neck. He didn't kill anyone. This little son of a bitch killed 4 people. Yeah. And, well, he just doesn't understand. He doesn't understand. We don't need to fuck his life up. It's just like people who get arrested during the protest and face up to 6 months in jail, you know, for disturbing the peace and other things. Brock Turner raped a woman and got 6 months, but got out in 3 because, well, he had good behavior, and, you know, he's a good guy, and we don't want to fuck his whole life up. And I'm like, he raped someone. He raped someone. Fuck his life up. He fucked someone else's life up. Yeah.
Well, and again, that goes back. That's the one thing that should, a lot of, when I say blue collar, working class, white people should start getting even more pissed about that shit. Because these judges are doing, they're saying, hey, this guy takes precedent over you, and he can do whatever the fuck he wants. It should be the thing that unites everyone. When both those situations came up, I was just like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm. Now, the personal example that I want to give about this is way back, I'm thinking 2009. I was over at some friends' apartments, you know, Mike and John.
Mm-hmm.
We were hanging out all night. I went to walk home. Now, back in 2009, I had long hair, a really bushy goatee. I wore all black. This particular night, I was wearing black trip shorts with black shoes, black socks. I had a Metallica Ride the Lightning shirt on, chains, rings, so you get an idea of how I looked. I'm walking home, and I go cutting through an addition to get home. What happens? I see smoke. I'm like, holy shit, it's not on fire. And I see a cop car. I'm thinking, I'll just ask the cop, what's on fire? What happened? Guess what happens to me? I get taken downtown because they suspect, because someone's setting cars on fire. They suspected me, even though they ran my license, found no prior charges. What did I have on me? Keys, wallet, and a box of Stridex pads that I picked up from the store on my way home because I was out. Nothing to start a fire with. But because I looked like I didn't belong, they took me downtown to question me. And I got the good cop, bad cop thing, just sitting outside, as the cops are questioning me. One cop asked me all these questions. I answered them. The guy standing right next to him started asking me the same questions, and I brought up the fact that I had just answered him. He started screaming at me. It's one of those power plays. I got a badge. You don't.
Lawyer.
Well, I wasn't under arrest. So when I get downtown, I learned that more cars are set on fire. So it couldn't have been me. And they're talking. I hear them talking outside. They're saying, yeah, it couldn't have been him because there's more. So at this point, I'm a little cocky. I'm kind of sitting back because, I'm like, I told you guys I didn't do this. Now, they did apologize to me, and they did give me a ride home because they took me all the way downtown. The point I'm trying to make on this is if I were a person of color, how much worse could that situation have been?
Ooh.
And I'll tell you this, the moral of the story is after I cut my hair, maybe got a little bit of a shave, dressed a little nicer, suddenly I looked like I belong. It's kind of shitty because I can go out and cut my hair and buy new clothes and I can be accepted by the norms. People of color can't.
Yeah, you're right.
And it's that thing that
Didn't
I think
they give you a
that's
chocolate milk?
What?
You said they gave you a chocolate milk when they sent you home?
They did give me a chocolate milk before they're like, you thirsty? Here's a chocolate milk. I'm like, okay. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. But yeah, they I'm saying as shitty as that was, or I'm sorry, as bad as that situation was, how much worse would it have been if I were a person of color? And like I said, I can cut my hair. I can like myself or Chris, we could fit the idea of what someone that belongs looks like with a simple change of wardrobe. People of color can't.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that needs to change.
Yeah. Because I told you a similar story too. Of me getting pulled over. And I did nothing wrong. And I didn't get a ride, no chocolate milk, nothing. No, I didn't get a ride home, no chocolate milk. I got body slammed on the ground. I got guns pointed at my head. And then the one cop told me, because I was crying so hysterically and he was trying to ask me questions and I couldn't control myself, he says, calm down. You're lucky to be alive.
Nah, they shouldn't be saying that.
I'm like, what? Like, I guess, and like, because of the society that we live in, I just sucked it up and was like, oh, well, I mean, I guess you're right. Like, I am lucky to be alive. I could be out here dead and did nothing wrong. And they pulled off and left me in the middle of the street. And I had to go back to work. I was on my lunch break at that.
Yeah, because you were getting a ride from a garage.
Yeah,
you had to take a car.
From the dealership, from the car dealership. I was getting a ride back to my job, and all of that transpired. And I'm like, what the heck? I don't know. That was like one of the worst experiences that I've had with the police. And it just made me just think to myself, like, well, like, you could be right or wrong. It doesn't matter. Like, when this happens, like, I don't like at this point. It's like, well, what do you teach your kids? What do you tell your kids? What do you do at that point? Do you lay down and take the beating, or do you like start talking back?
I'm not having kids anytime soon.
There shouldn't be a beating.
What? No, there shouldn't. You're right. You're absolutely right. There shouldn't be. I think.
Well, Chris, you weren't even treated that bad by the cops, and you defaced a church once.
Oh, Jesus. Let's not even talk about that.
And yeah, he may not have had the beard he has now, but he still had a beard.
Well, I've always looked like trouble.
Death metal shirts.
Yeah, I guess I've always looked like trouble. So, but yeah, we're not going to bring that up. That was bad. That was.
We're not talking about that. I'm talking about you didn't have guns pointed at your head and body slammed to the ground.
No, none of us were body slammed, but I think a gun got drawn. I don't remember a whole lot of that night because it's been 10, 15 years.
It's been
I try to forget that night. But yeah. Well, yeah, that.
And when people, they're like, well, yeah, there's a few bad apples, but you don't get rid of everyone. That is like the conservative talking point to this. And what I say was, rewind back 3-4 years when we were talking about refugees, and they're like, well, there's some bad apples in the group. And if I were to hand you a bag of apples and said 3 of them are poison, would you take them or would you throw them away? That was their talking point then. So by their own logic, that should be the talking point now.
Well, a lot of them are very pro police until they have to finance their police union. Then they don't like them that much.
Well, I mean, a lot of them haven't seen the bad side to cops. And don't get me wrong, there are some good cops out there.
Yeah.
I have a cousin that's a Franklin County Sheriff's deputy. She's a good cop. But unfortunately, in my, life, I've dealt with cops that were shitheads. Mike's party, there was a party Mike had one time. They were making too much noise. Someone filed a noise complaint. Here come the cops. So all I did was open the door and say, hey, guys, turn it down. The cops are out here. And the cop that came to the door started yelling at me, saying that what I did was technically obstruction of justice, and he could run me in if he wanted. It's a game of cat and mouse because,
You mean that's obstruction of justice? That deals with a fucking felony.
I know. And, I'm not going to mention a name, but one of your ex-bandmates who used to be a cop was there, and he's like, you can't. That's not obstruction of justice. What the hell? My brother
Obstruction of justice deals with felonies.
Right. My brother got pulled out of his car because the cop said even though he stopped at a red light, he didn't stop enough to where his wheels rolled back, so it counts as running a red light. It was a blinking red light, so it was treated like a stop sign. It was right there by Kroger on Hilliard Rome. And, you've seen my brother. He's about as non-threatening as you can get. And they had his arms behind him. They slammed him down on the hood, because long hair, beard, looked like he didn't belong. Unfortunately, they did it in front of my work at the time, so I came running out. I had already had a haircut, everything. I'm wearing khaki pants. And they're like, sir, you just need to get back in the building. I'm like, no, I don't. This is private property. I'm at my place of business. I am here. But you know what? Again, I said that and nothing happened to me because I looked like I belonged.
Yeah.
And
well,
that's
the thing.
standard I'm talking about.
Let's talk about. I'll bring this up. We're seeing a lot of changes, and this is what a portion of what this could be. We're seeing a lot of changes of what I call power dynamic with who holds the currency. You're starting to see a lot of CEOs, higher middle management people no longer be white people. So there's a group of people that are starting to get all antsy. Hey, my opportunity's gone. So what they do is they amplify a situation higher than it is, and they go, hey, there's the bad guys. Police, go get them. With Trayvon Martin, he was a gated community. I've never lived in a gated community.
That was a fucked up situation.
And what's sad is, other than Trayvon dying, is how fucking quickly the politics of the situation got people to sit there and like, we've seen George Zimmerman's actions since then. He's proven he wasn't just a dude defending himself. He's just a piece of shit. He's a small man trying to be a big man.
There's a reason he won our Scumbag of the Year award last year.
Yeah, because he just keeps doing scummy things.
Yeah. Did you see the new thing that came out about him where he's going to these gun shows? He has fans for some reason. I don't even understand that.
How the fuck? Again, if you are defending yourself, you are not asking to have fans. You are doing something you are reluctant to do. Okay? I have a lot of friends that have CCWs and stuff. You're not supposed to sit there and pat yourself on the back. Yeah, I took one out or something like that. It's something you're supposed to be reluctant to do. It's not something you fucking go and parade around like, hey, I'll sign your Skittles bag. That's, first off, that alone is fucking shitty. And then the fucker trying to sell the gun that he did the action on online.
Mm-hmm.
So
and then he's trying to sue the family because he says he received a lot of negative press because of it.
Well, I have a theory about why that's going on. It's the same reason why Devin Nunes is trying to sue Twitter. They're trying to set a new precedent. Trump said that he wanted to change libel law to make it easier to sue people. They're trying to set that precedent. That's what Zimmerman and Nunes are trying to fucking do. Because it would take a Supreme Court ruling. The thing is, though, no Supreme Court's going to listen to George Zimmerman's fucking ass. That's going to get this. That's not even going to go to the Supreme Court. That's just how that's going to go. Nunes, who knows? But with the worst part, like the worst part about that thing is Trayvon dying. The second bad part is people that are supposed to be the moral majority rallying behind Zimmerman, who's a total piece of shit. I mean, if you look at his actions since then, most of them, like, yeah, he's a pile. He's done some unthinkable things.
And when that happened, I remember people saying, well, Trayvon shouldn't have started anything with George. I'm like, think of when you were 17. You're walking home. Some asshole comes to you because, again, you look like you don't belong.
Yeah, he's in the gated community. And
Any one of us. Chris, I know you. I know I
Oh,
would
yeah.
have said, fuck off.
If he would have continued to follow me, I would have beat his fucking ass.
And then he got off because he said he feared for his life from a fight he started.
The fight he started, he was told to fucking back off because he's not a professional.
Right.
Okay. That whole thing is just so fucked up.
You know, again, this guy has fans. What could they possibly say to him? How can you be a fan of this guy? What did you say? Congratulations, you shot a kid?
Yeah, you took a woman's child away from her. Yeah. And then you have there's another situation. A lot, like, remember what I said about things accumulating, you know. Justice was not served when it came to the George Zimmerman, because he's just consistently proven that he's a piece of shit. There's people that have had to discharge their weapons in self-defense. They don't fucking want to be in front of a camera afterwards because they don't want to deal with the bullshit that comes with the press that with that situation. So, yeah.
I mean, so, because I know we've kind of branched out on a lot of different things to wrap it all around. Yeah, these protests were a long time coming.
Yeah.
And I hope it's not a flash in the pan of this was a hot button issue this week. Next week, we're focused on this. No, I know lawmakers have promised change, but we've heard the promise a lot. I think, everyone needs to keep protesting until we see actual change. My mom always said, actions speak louder than words. You can tell everyone we're going to change things. Let's see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are
unfortunately, I don't really see that happening anytime soon.
What do you think some of the changes should be, CJ?
People just respect people, and the laws, if it's going to be equal, let it be equal across the plane. Don't let color and my background, where I came from, be the deciding factor of me. Just genuinely love people. I think the change has to come from just the people. It's not even the laws and all this other stuff. It's people themselves. As an individual person, respect and just respect one another. We all have to stay on this planet together.
Yeah.
Why make it a miserable place to stay? Because I can't change that I'm Black. I can't change that. There's nothing I can do about that. I'm gonna be Black forever. My kids are gonna be Black. My grandkids are gonna be Black. It's just a thing that's gonna happen. If we could just all love and respect each other, or you don't even have to love me, just respect me and
just acknowledge the right to coexist
together.
Yeah.
We all have that right. I don't know specifically what laws and stuff need to be changed, but it's just I feel like if we just all had that respect for one another and we didn't have these stereotypes on different cultures and races, it would be a lot better. It would just be so much better. I don't know. But we keep hiding. I know, and then America keeps hiding all of the history of America and how bad of people that they were. Terrible, terrible people. You guys are monsters, bullies. You're stealing and killing and raping people to take their culture because you like something that they have. So it's like that. I don't know. One of those religious guys was saying, you love a flower, but if you love the flower, why would you pick it? Because if you pick that flower, it's going to die. If you love the flower, why not leave it in the ground and water it? I don't know.
You're right. You're right. And I don't know, when you think about changes that need to be made, people are talking about civilian reviews for complaints about police brutality. Yeah, I could see that. I could see if you had people whose job it was who weren't connected to the department to look it over. Because I know a lot of people think there is a thin blue line that kind of sweeps some things under the rug. So that's changed that I can agree with. Now, they brought up New York City as an example for when people say defund the police department. First off, they're not saying get rid of the police department, but they're saying all this money's going into their budget. But over here, and they use New York as an example, the Department of Health has significantly less of a budget. You know, the department to handle homelessness has significantly less money to do so. And, you know, I think that, you know, yeah, it takes some of the money from the police because they're getting military grade weapons at this point that they don't need. We've seen the videos. I mean, there's videos all over social media of police officers using, you know, dressed for like hardcore frontline battle against people who are armed with signs.
Here's I think they should scale back on that. We don't need that type of artillery out during protests.
Right.
But there's an issue that, and I think this issue also caters to this, why there's such a budget is because of the mass spree shooter fucking issue we have in this country. I think a lot of cops are prep, or, you know, police departments want to also prep for that. And that's absolutely not a black community issue. If you look who the last, I don't know, 15 fucking mass shooters have been.
Well, you know, it's funny because you and I were talking after Sandy Hook happened, and I said, I remember when everything changed was Columbine. Because they're like, you know, how could guns have made it into a school? But I said, it goes back further than that, but no one did anything. I said, if you remember all those reports, inner city schools with gang violence in the schools, kids being shot at school, but that was just a local issue. No one did anything until Columbine happened.
Yeah. So we as a society, until it hits the suburbs, we don't give a shit. Again, when it comes to drug abuse, when it's the inner city, we didn't give a shit until now. It's in the suburbs and, you know, in Pleasantville, you know, opioid addiction. You know,
when Karen comes home and finds her kid with a needle in his arm.
Yeah. And Karen probably on that mess too.
We should give a shit right at the beginning, so that that's not an issue that one community has to bear the burden of and not get any help for, but then another community gets all the help in the fucking world. It looks like the government's playing favorites when it comes to race. It absolutely does. You know?
You're not wrong. I mean, and, you know, I remember because, like, when all this happened, maybe, and I even posted this on social media, I thought of the Body Count song, No Lives Matter. Because if you remember the lyrics in that, you know, Ice-T talks about, you know, hey, it's a shame that we even have to sit here and say Black Lives Matter because, you know, historically no one cared before. So, you know, now you're saying now, but he's like, but when I say Black Lives Matter and you say all lives matter, you're basically diluting what I'm saying. You know,
but technically you don't even consider us to be people.
Yeah.
Well, someone compared it to on 9/11 wearing a T-shirt that said all buildings matter. Now, imagine how many people would be just offended by that.
Oh God.
But it's an accurate comparison.
Wow. I think there needs to be quite a bit more accountability, especially when you have people that are handcuffed and then they're beaten badly. You know, if you swing on a cop, whatever, you know, and unprovoked, but you know, unprovoked, the cop doesn't provoke it or whatever. But when you have situations where you have big guys, you know, restrained and they're obeying and shit's happening, something's got to be done, you know. And it makes the cops that are actually trying to do their job look bad.
Yeah.
You know?
And one of the, I saw a girl, she said something like she worked at Starbucks. And she said, it's crazy how she's held to a higher standard than the police are. At her job, if a customer comes to her and they're complaining and they're yelling at her and cursing her out about a coffee that she made that's not hot enough, she's expected to stand there with a smile on her face and apologize and fix that coffee. But a police officer, where it's your job to go out here and protect and serve, and you know that you're going to deal with criminals. You know that you're going to deal with some people that are going to fight you back. This is your job. This is to be expected. But you can act wild. You can kill this person. You're not expected to be like treat that person with respect. Like how is a Starbucks person held to a higher standard than the police officer?
Right. You know, and people were saying, you know, yeah, some of the protesters were yelling at the cops. What do you expect them to sit there and take it? I'm like,
yeah,
well, if someone yells at me and I punch them in the face,
they
am
took
I
it
going
when
to get arrested?
they took it when the assholes with the AR-15s were fucking spitting in their faces.
Yeah. And I think if there's...
And I don't think what those guys did was right by any means.
Yeah.
Right.
You know.
Well,
at the same time, like, at your job, you signed up for this. You knew that there were going to be people out here acting crazy.
Well, I think it's important to say, look, if you think protesters yelling at cops, Black Lives Matter, and it's fair for them to get maced, then that meme of that asshole with the shaved head and the beard yelling in the cop's face, I think we can all support a public macing of him. Right?
I don't want anybody to get hurt, honestly. If I'm like, I don't want anyone to get hurt for expressing the right that they have for anything. It doesn't even matter at this point. It's just like, you should be able to say whatever the hell you want to say.
The worst,
I'm a grown adult, just like you're a grown adult. Like,
when it comes to protests, this is the thing I brought up. Like, you have Klan protests and stuff like that. Or let's say you have a group of people that want to have a little rally, you know, about, you know, how they wanted to, you know, have their nuts caved in or something like that. You have crazy, you know, people expressing speech that people don't like. The worst thing you can do to these people is to not pay attention to them, especially the outlier, the crazy ones. If you go and you know, do that type of stuff, we live in an era where bad publicity is publicity, and those people don't care anymore. Look at the Paul brothers. I mean,
right.
Look how many fucking scandals those assholes have been in, and they still have way more money than me and you. You know, than all three of us. So, but I mean, that's the worst thing you can fucking do. It's an old adage that Vern Gagne said in wrestling: the worst thing you can do to a pro wrestler is just, if they're trying to get heat or whatever, is to not pay attention, not respond. You know.
And what happened? So many people didn't pay attention to protests in the past.
Yeah.
Now people are like, how did we get here?
Well, in the case with Black Lives Matter, with the kneeling and all that type of stuff, even beyond that, people would either not listen or, again, as I said, the president shouldn't be weighing in on that. That is just a thing that the citizens of the United States should be having a discussion about. You're the head of the government. You are the fucking government. Tweeting about it constantly to get your base worked up. You know, I don't think Reagan would have done that, or Bush would have fucking done that. They probably wouldn't have liked it, but they would have just sat back and just been like, I'm going to let that stuff work its way out. You know, the reality TV star wanting to work his way into all that type of shit, it's really unnecessary. You know, then you get one group of people that think, oh, the president's behind me, so I can say and do whatever the fuck I want.
right.
Yeah. And there's a huge difference between that than when there was that situation where the cop arrested the guy trying to get into his own house, the professor, and then Obama had the beer summit. He was trying to bring people together. He wasn't even trying to pick a side. You know, he's like, hey, let's get these two people that are arguing. Let's have a drink. You know, maybe this will cool things off. And then, you know, the other situation was, I'm going to antagonize shit. You know, so. That's one of the areas I think we need to fix right there, is leadership.
Yeah. Well, I guess the question is, and this is not something that the three of us are going to have like an answer for, but where do we go from here?
No. First, some of the people that were making the protests look bad, some of those people are going to get their shit get in some legal trouble. There was one white nationalist that was trying to run into protesters. They caught him, and CNN brought up that the guy was a fucking white supremacist or whatever. Some of that, and the drunk frat boys trying to cause trouble and all that type of shit. Some of they're going to get theirs, but what needs to happen first is we need to rebuild trust between communities of color and the police departments and that type of stuff. That bridge needs to be fixed because it is in fucking shambles. That's not just me speaking metaphorically. I don't hold office, so
we might be better for it, you not holding office. I remember the old Malice for president things you did.
Well, if I ran for office, I'd get killed. Let's face the facts.
I don't know. With the orange psychopath in office, I guess anyone can run.
Well, anyone can run. Anyone can run. That doesn't matter.
I don't know. CJ, what do you think? Like I said, this is nothing the three of us can solve, but
it's hard. I don't know. What I personally am going to continue to do is just live my life as best as I can. Don't bring any harm to anybody, and just respect my neighbor. That's all I can do. And stand up for what I think is right, and whatever it is I think is wrong. Stand up for whatever I think is wrong. Like, it's not even. I don't know. Just be respectful. I'm going to continue to do that and just spread love and positivity. That's all that I can. And
well, you are one of the most positive people I know.
Yeah. So.
And I'm one of the most negative.
Yeah, I mean, we got like the mirror images of each other, like the reverse images, because there's CJ who's so positive, and every day she comes in, she's happy and just full of energy. And then here's Chris, who just, like you said, wants to watch the world burn.
I do. We need to restart. And
right. We need to restart. I do agree with that. Can we restart? Start over?
We need to go back to the prehistoric age.
Just hit the reset button.
Around. People asked who I was rooting for in 2016. I said that asteroid to hit the fucking Earth. I'm fucked
CJ,
up.
when you were downtown protesting, what was like the best sign you saw?
One of the best signs I saw was a guy had a sign. It was a white man, and he said that I may not understand. It was something like, I may not understand what the Black community is going through, but I will stand for the Black community. I thought that was a really good sign. Another sign was when George called out for his mother, he summoned all mothers. Oh man, I'm about to cry, because that's just so sad.
Yeah, that is sad.
It's so sad that this grown man called out for his mama. People did not care, and then to watch it live. I can't even watch the whole video, but to watch it live. So that was another good sign I saw. He called out to his mom and he summoned all mothers. So I don't know.
I'm not sure what city it took place in, but the sign that caught my attention. I mean, all the signs are like, you read that and you're like, yeah, that's good. But the most original one that I saw was the one that said, "I want death in my metal, not in my streets."
No, I listen to death metal.
Well, yeah, so do I. Oh, and I got CJ to listen to Cannibal Corpse one night at work, and she enjoyed it. It was Hammer Smash Face.
I like it.
Which song did you have her listen to?
Hammer Smash Face.
Oh yeah, that's a good song. I'll be honest, Corpse Grinder's a better vocalist than Barnes.
I'll be honest, you're not wrong, but that's a subject for another video.
Yeah. Well, if you want to go to sleep, go see Chris Barnes, the first vocalist of Cannibal Corpse. Go see his band 6 Feet Under. They'll put you to sleep. He just stands there.
Again, subject for another video.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we're winding down now.
Yeah.
But CJ, I thank you so much for coming on here.
Yeah, thank you.
And like I said, we wanted to have you on the channel, anyway. And it's just a shame that this situation happened the way it did. I mean, not the subject matter needs to be talked about, but I mean, you don't want someone to lose their life over it. But we wanted to bring you on anyway because you're just fun.
Thanks,
And when we start doing more, I mean, yeah, we got a little sidelined because of COVID, but when things start clearing up and we're able to actually go and film at a location, we're definitely gonna have you on more.
Yeah.
For sure. I'm excited. I thank you guys so much for having me on. I'm glad that we got to talk about this. It's an uncomfortable conversation to have, but it's a conversation worth having.
Yeah.
Exactly. And everyone can follow CJ on TikTok. CJ, what's your TikTok?
It's my name, Cjampail Sanders.
We may want to put like a link in the description.
Yeah, we'll have to put a link because my name's clearly not spelled normal.
Right, I was going to say the spelling on your name is not what people would think.
Yeah.
So we can follow CJ on that. Chris, do you have anything you want to recommend?
I just hopefully that moving forward, things get better because it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Like I said, the bridge between one community and the policing community needs to be fixed, and that's going to take time. And I think it just needs to be fixed.
Truly, I don't even know if it's just the policing community. I think it's every community needs to branch out and understand everything else.
You're absolutely right. Like I said, there's cops that I've known that are really good cops that would never think to do what those cops did to Floyd.
You played with one in a band.
Yeah. And his brother was a cop too, and his brother's an awesome guy, great guy. He's openly stated, I don't ever want to hurt anyone as a cop. I don't. And we need more of him. We could have a lot of them. It's just, the really bad ones just, shit happens. They make a really big stink. I think we need to that those two bridges need to be fixed really well, because we as a society can't continue to be having everyone at each other's throats. Yeah. It's going to lead to something really bad.
Yeah. Well, and I agree. Like usually, like I said, we always recommend something worth checking out related to the topic in which we're talking about. Every Body Count album is what I recommend, because
there you go.
Ice-T is pretty intelligent, and when he really sinks his teeth into something, it's worth hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the album Carnivore, which has the song No Lives Matter, and you understand why he says that if you listen to the song.
Ice-T's smart. I like Ice-T.
So do you have anything to recommend, Chris?
I did. Bridging.
Okay. I didn't know if there was like.
Well, I can recommend a book that everyone reads. It's a anti-war book called "Blowback" by Chalmers Johnson.
Yeah.
Okay.
Has nothing really to do with this, but
You tried though. That's the important part.
Yeah.
CJ, you have anything you want to recommend people check out aside from your TikTok?
Aside from my TikTok, also Amanda Seals. I think she's a good person to check out. She speaks pretty well on the topic at hand anyway. So
what platform is she on?
You can follow her on any of the social medias. Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, Amanda Seals. She was a co-host on The Real, but she didn't re-sign her contract, so she's not on there anymore. But
okay,
on Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook.
All right. Well, from the Adam and Chris Show, I'm St. Adam.
Chris Malice.
And special guest is
Cjampail.
All right.
Cjampail Sanders. We thank you all for watching. Leave a comment if you like. Well, yeah, I was going to say leave a comment if you want to keep the conversation going. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. subscribe to the channel, share it with some other people that may have something to say on the topic. From everyone here at the Adam and Chris Show and at Chaos Bringer Productions, we say, have a good night.
Yeah.
Good night.
And I'm hitting this